Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Cohen, and today we're talking about magic. We're talking specifically about your magic. And there are really three ways. I mean, there's probably I know there's multiple ways, but what's coming to mind to talk to you about today is really three ways that you can start tapping into your own magic and start to understand it a little bit more and to see that you are actually a magical being. I want to preface first by saying this. We look at other people in our lives and maybe we see them in movies or we see them on Instagram or maybe we know them in our lives. And we look at them and we think like, they're so magical, right? People say that about me. Actually, people say that about Frank, Erica, Gabby. I mean, a lot of us at Spirit and Soul, and they look at us and they're like, well, there's something, that we're doing or something that we just are that other people that they feel like they don't have. And I'm going to first preface this entire episode by saying we are all special, but there's nothing special about us in that way. We have the same abilities as you do. Okay? All of us, and the people that you see that you feel like have magical lives or everything just goes right for them or whatever it is, they have exactly the same start in energy wise as you do. And it's just we know how to harness because we've been working on it. We know how to harness it in different ways and how to work on it. And that is the magic right there. That is the magic, is to understand it. And it all comes down to all magic is based in energy. So the more that you can understand energy as a whole and and what it is and how you interact with energy and what does energy mean to you, the easier it is to manipulate it in the best sense of the words, right? It's easier to tap into, it's easier to work with it. So that's what we've been able to do. So when you look at us or you look at me or you look at Frank or whoever and like, oh, they're so magical, it's because we understand energy. So that is, I want to preface that. So the more that you can dive into working with energy, you can then start to understand your own energy, which then you dive into the emotions and the limiting beliefs and the love and the fears and the doubts and everything in between and your hopes and your desires. And you start to dive into all of that and you start to even dive into your astrology and start to feel, well, what am I made up of? Well, you're made up of the stars that bought, that you basically signed up for when you came here, right? So like I'm a Gemini sun and a Virgo moon and a Cancer rising, right? So like I bought into a lot of this plus all the other things, right, that were happening in the sky that day, and that is the energy of the stars that make up me, right? Make up who I am, what I needed for my mission, what I needed for my learning, for my growth. All of that makes up me. So if I can start to understand that and how I interact with the world around me, well, then now I'm starting to understand my own individual magic, right? And how I do magic best. So number 1, I'm going to say right there is if you could start to, and this actually wasn't one of my 3, but I'm going to kind of say that this is like a little bonus one. Get an astrology reading with Cecilia. Okay. I don't even think it's on the website yet. Okay. But I'm saying it. DM us, get an astrology reading, a mini one, if you'd like, with Cecilia, and you can start to understand what stars and energy you're made up of. And then you're going to see how you hold energy differently. And that's where Reiki comes in. And, that's where I really love. I always tell all of my clients that in order to understand energy, a great place to start is at least getting Reiki 1. And I'm a true believer that, yes, you have to be called to Reiki, but I think that not everybody has to be called to Reiki 1. I think everybody should work with and understand Reiki energy flowing to and through you. And this is a high vibration energy and frequency to work with. Now, when you start getting into Reiki 2, that's when you're really starting to heal others a little bit more. And that's different. That's a healer's path, right? And not everybody is called to that. And that I fully understand. But to understand energy around you, Reiki is great for that, because then you start to understand, okay, well, this is my energy. This is Reiki energy. This is how I hold the energy. And you could start to see what you can do with energy. And that's when you're starting to test energy and you're starting to say, okay, well, if I open up this way, if I open up my crown, but maybe I, do something different at my feet, maybe I plant them better, or maybe I allow them to almost like rise up, this happens to me, right? Or if I hold my hands up this way as I'm called to do, if I just allow myself to be free, energy flows more easily through me. Whatever it is, you start to get to know yourself in relation to other energy. And I feel like it just opens up a huge, like a whole door to how you work with any type of energy. So if this is something that you are like, if this sounds appealing to you and you want to learn how to work with energy, Gabby, and if you're listening in real time, Gabby has Reiki 1 on the schedule actually for July. I would highly suggest signing up for it. Highly suggest. Okay, so number one way for you to start learning your magic is going to be meditation. Allow me to be the meditation pusher, and I'm going to be. And I know that there are people out there that are like, you don't need to meditate every day. And you do. You do. You need to meditate every single day. This is your way for your soul to be heard and for you to be guided. So if you're not tapping into your soul energy, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel chaotic. You're going to feel like you don't show up as a I don't know, put together version of yourself, because you're not tapping into your true self. Your true self isn't your body. It's not your ego. Your true self is your soul. And you are in this human body having a beautiful experience. And you signed up for this, but you signed up to be a soul in a human body. And you can't do the work you came here to do without getting in touch with that soul, with that part of yourself. So please start meditating every single day. Okay. 5 minutes a day, start with that. And you're going to see it's not enough. Like my son, Gavin, he just said to me the other day, I started doing 5 minutes, and 5 minutes isn't enough. And I said, yeah, really 5 minutes is not enough. It's a quick fix. But as you start to grow, you're going to see that sometimes for me, 30 minutes is not enough. Sometimes the meditation is so great that I don't care what I have to do. I will be late to it because I'm getting so much out of the meditation. And I mean, those days are a little bit more rare because I'm building a different schedule almost around my morning ritual now, because my morning ritual is so juicy and it's so guided, and I'm tapping into a lot of different energies that I'm actually now like starting my day a little bit later at the shop and my appointments later, because this time is vital and valuable to, number one, me, my mission on this earth, but also to other people, right? My clients and people that I work with. And this is my job, right? So like I should be tapping into that energy, and I should be starting later and giving myself that inspiration and motivation and drive and focus on where I need to go next, and allow myself to be guided. Because when you're guided by ego, you can guarantee you're going to be guided probably off course. Okay. When you're guided by your soul, you're never going to be guided off course. It's just going to feel a little bit scary. And that's good, scary in a good way, right? So meditation is going to guide you there. And what meditation is going to do too is, on a scientific level, it's going to access different parts of your brain. It's going to access and bring together the different areas of your brain. It's going to start creating energy out of your brain, right? From the pineal gland out. And you're going to start creating these energetic frequencies, and you're going to get into theta brain waves and gamma brain waves, and you're going to start seeing how you feel at those different levels. Now, you may not know what the levels are, but I'm going to tell you something. You feel the shift. I can feel the shift immediately when I head into a different level of brainwave than I did when I just closed my eyes and started. And then you're also going to be able to tap into those brain waves a lot more easily because your body knows what to do. It's going to be like muscle memory. So, like, my body knows at this point that when I close my eyes, take a nice big deep breath in and out, and I tune my focus inward. The second that I do that, my body goes into like this mode of like focus, and it doesn't matter what's going on around me. There could be my kids yelling and screaming. There could be, my husband doing things in the background. There could be sirens going by. Nothing breaks me from it because my body is used to it. Now, yes, do I fall in a little bit more deeply, a lot more deeply when I have no distractions? I don't know. Honestly, maybe yes, maybe no. Sometimes it depends. But mostly I am very tuned into my meditation only and tuning out what's going on around me, or those things are just becoming like almost like if I was listening to meditation music, right? They're just becoming part of an energy frequency for me. And that's truly what happens. But that came with time, and that came with understanding that it didn't have to be perfect, right? I used to feel like I needed to be romanced in my meditation, which I still love, but romance meaning like lights out, candles on, all the things. And yes, I still love that. That's still always going to be my favorite. But sometimes life doesn't allow me to do that sometimes. And in those cases, I got to work with what I've got, which sometimes is sitting on my couch with my kids around me, right? Or my dog barking as I'm like, going in my room and laying down and meditating. So understand that you have to, in order to get to that place, you do have to work with them. You have to meditate every single day to start getting your body used to what does it feel like to be in meditation, and that nothing around you matters. So when you meditate and you're tapping into those brain waves and you start going into that brain wave, suddenly the body begins to fall away and soul begins to rise up fully. And I truly believe for me, it's like I can notice it. I notice it when I hit whatever brainwave I'm in. I notice it, and I notice that that's like the call forward. And it brings everything forward, and I know that I'm about to go on a massive journey. And not every meditation is like that, but those meditations, they're invaluable. They're guiding me, they're lighting me up, they're healing me, whatever it is, whatever journey I'm going on, I'm learning something, or I'm receiving something, or maybe I'm giving love, right? So either way, there's a huge experience there. But even just in the breathing meditations, even just in the ones that you can't get to that higher vibration place, you're still changing the chemicals within your body. You're still shifting out of the normal everyday waking brainwave. You're still doing that. So please know that. And the reason that meditation plays into your magic is just like what I was saying when the body begins to fall away. So honestly, the inspiration for this podcast episode today was actually in my meditation this morning, which was felt like it was going to be a rushed one. It ended up being an absolutely amazing one. But I laid down, and usually I'm a sitting meditator, but I was called to lay down. And as I laid down and started to fall into that place, I heard the words, I am everything and nothing all at once. I'm getting chills as I say that, but I am everything and nothing all at once. And I started to feel like my body was dissolving, but my spirit was flying high and just almost like dancing. And I could feel like the energy swirling around me, and I can actually feel the connection to the universe, to everything around me, to creator, whatever words you like. I could feel the tether, which is something that, we know of and we say it, but like, I don't know if I feel it in the way that I felt it today. And I felt the oneness of it with the words, I am everything and nothing all at once. And it was almost like my body was shattering into the stars and into all of the pieces and going back to where they came from and then forming back again into my body. And then I could feel my body fully. And then it would do it again. It would just shatter again. And I could feel the energy of the coming together and the opening and the coming together and the opening and like the falling apart. But it wasn't falling apart because it was still all as one. And it was amazing. And then I started to feel the things like around me, and I could feel the energy of it all, understanding that everything is energy and we're all connected because we're all coming from the same place. And I started to realize the magic in that. And the magic is that you can allow yourself to completely, your body to completely fall away in meditation. And you can move through the body and out and live into different energies. And maybe those energies are healing. Maybe you need healing. Maybe you're sending your energy to somebody else because they need healing, right? And you can, and you could start to work with how this feels, right? I am everything and nothing all at once. So shattering that and allowing just your spirit to sing, it just reminds you that this body is magic. And for me, that was like, I got out of that meditation and I felt so empowered, so empowered. I like, it was almost like every word that I was saying, that I've been saying since I started this journey in teaching, I should say, was like all like almost like put in front of me and like yes to it all. Like this is why. This is why, because the words that we speak, the thoughts in our mind, they're all energy patterns that we have control over, right? And when we combine the mind, the things that we think, with what we feel and how we want to feel, putting those two things together becomes a magic wand. And how you wield your wand changes your life. So if you say, I am not worthy, or I don't love myself, I hate my body, and then the heart is also tying into that and saying it's breaking and it's not, nobody loves me, or I can't feel love fully, I'm not worthy of love. That's the wand, that's the magic spell that you are putting out into the world, right? So also, if you say, and this is where like the magic of manifesting and what we teach you at Spirit and Soul is, you know, if you want something, you start to think about it, you start to visualize it. And then if you allow yourself to feel it fully in your heart and you come from a place where you believe it, that even though you don't see it, you're still believing that on another timeline this exists. Like this for me, just side note for a moment, this for me shifted my manifestations. This one remembering, okay? And the remembering is this. There are multiple millions and millions of timelines for you. And if you could understand that every single timeline on all these different timelines, all outcomes exist. Your highest vibration outcome, your lowest one exists, right? So that means like in one life, you're living in a mansion and have unlimited funds. And then on another timeline, you are homeless, right? Depending on the choices you make, because your free will is going to shape it and if you're seeing the synchronicities in your life and you're allowing yourself to see it, right? You're choosing one end of the frequency or the other, or somewhere in between, wherever. If you limit yourself, you're not getting to those higher ones. If you completely limit yourself, or you start making really, really bad choices, you're going to end up at the lower one, right? Like, these are all the possibilities. All the possibilities are there. So this one thing helped me, like, to understand this, to say, okay, well, I want this one thing. Like, I want this certain beach home in a certain area in Avalon, New Jersey. I've been saying this for years. And all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, well, on another timeline, it exists. So it's not far fetched for me to say I have a multi-million dollar beach home in Avalon because on a timeline, it exists. Right? So, like, I can buy into it a little bit more, because I know some people have a hard time with belief. Well, I can't say I have $1 million if I don't have $1 million. If my bank account says $1, I can't wrap my mind around that. Okay. But if you can understand that another version of you in a different timeline does have those things, and time doesn't exist, and you could tap into that timeline whenever you'd like, well, can you wrap your mind around it then? Right? And it becomes a little bit more easy when you buy into it. So, can you buy into different timelines and the different versions of you? Can you do that? And if so, I guarantee you it's going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. You will start manifesting easily, differently, quicker, all of it. It's just going to start flowing for you and start happening. And that's the beauty of understanding energy, understanding timelines, all of that stuff, because now you can use your words and you can use the emotions and start to say, okay, what is that higher vibration version of me believe to be true? Well, that higher vibration version of me believes that money flows freely and easily. They're living into exactly what they're meant to be doing in this world. They're reaching so many people, right? This was, I've been talking about myself, right? They're reaching so many people on bigger stages, doing big things, and they believe that it's easy. They believe that it's easy and it's meant for them. So now I will adopt that belief system, right? And that's what I'm doing. And that's how I manifest the things that I want. I just buy into it. I buy into the other timeline. That's magic. Nobody can tell me differently. That right there is magic. So the more that you meditate, the more that you can visualize these things and put your emotion out there, I mean, you're really tapping into quantum energy. That's tapping into the quantum field, shifting your brain waves, allowing yourself to go into another dimension of energy. That's what you're doing. And that to me is magic. So, another thing that you can do to really start to tap into your own magic is really getting, and I want to say this loosely because this never got me until very recently. It's going to be to connect with nature. And for some of you at home right now, you're like, no, right? And, like, I'm going to tell you something. I was that person, and part of me still is that person. However, for me, I was always afraid of bugs. It's like one of my biggest, biggest fears, and I'm working through it. Don't think I'm not. I am, and working through it all. But it's there for me, and so being in nature never really was comfortable for me because I was always thinking about bugs. And now that I'm starting to kind of pull back on that and start to heal some of that, I'm starting to realize that there's more to it than just my comfort, right? That if I can sit on, and I don't have to go hiking in the woods because it's never going to be me, but if I can sit on a blanket in my front yard and sit for a moment and maybe close my eyes and feel the wind on my face and feel the sun on my face and my body. Well, if I start to understand that that's all energy as well, how can I work with these energies? How can I work with the energy of wind? How can I work with the energy of the sun? How can I call this in to shape my own energy? And can I manipulate this energy in some way? Now, I'm going to tell you something. When I was a kid, I would do this thing with, my dad would always, like, take out a candle for me to do this. But I would do this thing with candles, and I would stare at the candle and the flame, and with my eyes, I would will the candle flame up, and then let go. And then I would will it up. I'd open up my eyes really wide, and the candle flame would start going higher. And then I would let my concentration go, and I would let it go and let it dance again. And, part of me, and as a kid, I was like, I am freaking pure magic, right? Pure. I am a witch. And that's that, right? Like magician, you call me when you want. That's what I am, right? As a kid. But then, and this went into my teenage years, okay? And I would still do it as like, probably until 18, right? 20, even older. My God, I was past teenage years. I was still doing it. And then one day, I think when I, really veered off course with my spirituality and my spiritual practices, I stopped being able to do it. And I don't know why. I still try to do it to this day every so often, but I'm sure that I can. I'm sure if I really focused on doing it, I can do it again. But I remember my dad would always bring out a candle, always, and be like, "All right, show me your trick, Tiff." And I would always, start doing this. And, I think that was part of it too. Like he believed. And so he fueled my own fire, literally, of belief in my own magic abilities. So what I was doing though in reality was, I mean, I truly think that I was manipulating the energy around it in some way and using intention to hold energy for a moment and let it go. And if you really allow yourself to do it, what I was doing was tapping into an energy frequency. I was tapping into like this energy of the elements. And we know how important the energy of the elements are, right? Of working with these energy elements, and that we have, power elements as well. And what are your power elements? What lights you up? What makes you feel different? For some people, it's going to be different things. For me, it's lightning. As I say it, I can feel it almost like course through my body. It's water, the vision of water, seeing water, and a few other things that really light me up. The sun, of course, for me anyway. But these are things. Some people, it's the moon, and I love the moon. Don't get me wrong, but for some people, it's many different things. Many different things. So starting to tap into these energies and seeing how you work with them, and if you work with them, like what ways do you work with elements. And that is going to be a magical, you're tapping into your own inner magic, because there are ways that you can work with all the different elements. And some of them are going to come easier to you, your power elements, and some of them are, not going to speak. It's just more of they don't speak to you. So the other day, it was 2 days ago, I think it was actually, no, yesterday, I was sitting, and I was sitting outside, and I was out there by myself for a moment. And it was almost like I could feel the wind dancing on my skin. And I felt it as a dance. It was speaking to me differently than just a nice gust of wind. And wind is another power element for me. And I'm starting to learn to work with it a little bit more. And I felt the wind just dance on my skin. And I was like, okay, what are you saying? And I started to speak back to the wind, and realizing that, like, again, and if I think about it and really, I'm thinking about it in this moment and really tying together yesterday with today of you are everything and nothing all at once. Well, why couldn't I be wind? And why couldn't I be sunlight? And why couldn't I be this, right? We're all connected. Why couldn't I tap into that? And that is magic, truly. So start to sit, and coming from a girl that is not not into nature, um, learning to work with these different elements turns you into somebody that understands nature. And you don't have to be, you know, strapping on your hiking boots and going for hikes up mountains and stuff unless that's calls to you. That's not for me. You don't have to be that person to understand nature in a different way. You could go down to the beach, down to the water, see how that feels for you, right? Sit outside while it's raining and see how that speaks to you. So many different things that you could do, but start to hone in on what are your power elements and how can they work with you for your own inner magic. And then the next thing, and definitely a fun thing, is this. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is watch magical movies. Truly, like watch superhero movies, watch Harry Potter, watch movies about magic and see how they talk. In my most recent Soul Sunday, I kind of talked about how, not kind of, I did, I spoke about how magic, how basically this is all, anything that you read, anything that you watch, this is all coming from someone's imagination. And imagination is energy. And the creative process happens outside of the body. You may be drawing, you may be writing, you may be doing different things with your body. But let me tell you something, that's coming from a different source. And anybody that has ever been in that creative zone, which is probably most people in this world, no matter what you're creating, you know that to be true. You know that, like for me, sometimes when I write, I'll be typing and writing something. And then all of a sudden it's like you shake out of it and like you kind of shake it off and you come back and you're like, okay, let me just like reread what I wrote because I don't know. Like I'm not sure what I just wrote. And like that's what'll happen. Or like art. For some people, it's artists. They go into a zone. And that's when they say like they're in the zone. Even athletes, they're in the zone. That means that they're not, it's almost like they're not of their body. They're moving, not, I don't want to say not of their own free will because everything is free will, but they're moving gracefully with the universe as the universe is working through them. So, all this being said, every book that you consume, every movie that you watch, every TV show that you watch, it came from somewhere, right? And is this something that is happening on another timeline? Is it something that we're just not tapped into in this 3D reality? If you can, I mean, I'm at the point where I think that all the stories are true, good and bad, right? What we consider bad and also good. So if that's the case, well, they're giving you clues. Like the clues are right there. Like that's why like the work that Erica does and Gabby does this as well about like they take apart like movies, like they're big movie lovers and Disney and all, like Star Wars and things like that. Like if you really, and of course Harry Potter, come on now. But if you really tune in to what they're doing is they're taking apart like the lessons for you and they're showing you like this is what they say about manifesting. This is what someone said. So like get it out of your head that it's about, I don't know, Mulan, right? Like put that aside. The lesson is the lesson and it's just being done through characters. But you're learning and you can get so much juicy bits from watching shows like The Flash and Arrow and Disney movies and Harry Potter, right? What are they doing? They're teaching him how to use his magic wand. They're saying focus and what happens. Just think about it for a moment. In every single magic movie that you've ever seen of someone that's learning how to use their magic, what is always the driving force behind the magic? It's not just in their mind and what they want to do, the intention, it's the emotion. So, just like I said earlier about the mind and the heart being the magic, making up the magic wand, that's just in all of the movies. So, start looking at the things that you're watching differently. Like for me, I can't really even watch like scary movies and anything like that anymore because that is not a timeline that I want to buy into. And not saying there's anything wrong with them, but for me, I just don't want to buy into a timeline of fear. And so, scary movies and things like that, they're promoting a timeline of fear, and for me, that's just not for me. But everything that's magic related, I'm buying into, even if it's like, there's of course action and like all these things or stories and all of it. I'm reading A Court of Thorns and Roses right now, like the whole series, and I'm buying into it all. I'm buying into fairies and I'm buying into the use of magic, right? All of it. Like fully there because I know on a timeline that this all exists. And if it exists on that timeline, just like we talked about before, why can't you draw it to you? Why can't you start to see life that way? So start looking at everything that you are reading, that you are watching with different eyes, with the eyes of somebody that can absorb, be the sponge for whatever it is that you want and the things that you don't want. But how can you start to absorb that magic and start to understand how they do their magic, what they're doing, how do they tap into their superhero abilities? So maybe you're not going to be able to run like the Flash. I mean, who knows? I'm not saying anything is impossible, okay? But what else does he stand for that he continuously has to tap into? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. It's never just his speed, right? There's always love or heart or a deeper motivation behind what he does, and his speed just helps him. But I'm going to tell you right now, you have your own superpower. So what is it? That's that's another show. I love tapping into what is your superpower and starting to understand that and using that, realizing that you have these gifts that are superpowers. So we'll do another show about that, but another episode about it. But for now, these are the three things that you can start to do to start to tap into your innate magic. So, number one, meditation. Number two, start tapping into nature around you. And number three is to look at the pop culture things, the creations of others as they are tapping into another field of energy that you can then start to draw down to you. So these three things can start to help you on your magical journey. And I'm just going to say this is important because when you start to see life as from the magical being that you are, life becomes different. Please take this from me. Life starts to become a very different ball game. It is not hard anymore. You don't subscribe to life being hard. You start subscribing to I am in this reality right now. And what am I to gain out of this? Or what lessons? Or how can I grow from this? And how do I then move forward in my life from this place? You start to see life differently, almost as if you are in a story. So, how would you act? How would you start to show up differently? And that's usually because your soul, when you start to ask that question, you start to dip into the energy of the soul. And how would the soul show up? Because that's usually the hero. So, how do you start to be the hero of your own story? Right? So, start to lean into your magic. Life will be different for you. And this is what we do here at Spirit and Soul. So, if you want to start leaning into meditation more, you are missing out. I am saying this, patting us on the back. You call it what you want. You are missing out if you are not part of the Intention app by Spirit and Soul. Okay. It's $12 a month. It is worth every stinking penny, and that is not a lot. Every penny, because what it's doing is it's giving you a broad spectrum of different meditations. It's also giving you rituals. So, like how to use Frank's, money rice, and how to use the different oils, and what to do on a full moon and what to do on a new moon. And it's got your horoscopes in it for astrology. It's got different meditations that you can tap into that energy of the stars for your astrology. Like there are countless things on there for you to just start exploring, tapping into. Some of it's going to be for you, some of it's not going to be for you, and that's okay. You find what is and start leaning into the manifesting, start leaning into the ritual, the intentional living, start leaning into the healing. We have Reiki ones on there as well. So if you need that healing, it's there for you. I mean, we leave no stone unturned. Also meditations with crystals, how to meditate with your clear quartz and your citrine and whatever it is. It really is a work of art. And I thank Cecilia so much. She's on the back end, really like running that and managing it, and the teachers and everybody showing up for it. It's really such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So make sure that you're signing up for that. That will make your meditation easy and like a no-brainer in the morning or in the whenever. Use it all throughout the day. There's nighttime meditations, walking meditations, affirmations, so much to start lifting your vibration and tapping into your magic. So that's a great place to start. There's also meditations on there for sitting in nature. So we're really tapping into everything here. All right, guys. So you can head on over to spiritandsoulstudio.com and click on our app section, and you can find the Intention app by Spirit and Soul to learn a little bit more. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode today. I really hope that you lean into your magic, into your innate abilities, and you tap into those frequencies, because not only will you change your life, but as you change your life, the lives of people around you start to change as well. All right. See you on the next episode.